You have 24 hours to leave this house, the billionaire CEO said as he threw the divorce
You'll
papers in
remember
her
this
face.
Christmas
My girlfriend
forever.
deserves this place more than you. She smiled, wiped her cheek and whispered, 24 seconds are enough to destroy you. And your 1 minute starts now. Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Mr. Peter Stories. The only place where your emotions are respected, your hearts are understood, and your voices truly matter. My beautiful queens, this story is for you. The women who carry storms in silence, yet still rise with grace. The women whose hearts break at night, but whose smiles heal others in the morning. The women who give everything and keep nothing for themselves. You are the strength behind every home, the love behind every child, the calm behind every struggle. May the Almighty wrap your life in peace, protect your hearts from every hurt, and fill your days with blessings that never stop. May your hands never shake in hardship, may your tears never fall without comfort, and may every prayer you whisper find its way to the heavens and return as joy. But my family, I see many of you not staying till the end. If you are watching and leaving, then tell me, am I the fool, pouring my heart into every line? Am I wrong for giving my soul to every story? Or did you forget your brother, Mr. Peter? Talk to me. I will reply to every single comment, I promise. If your heart is true, like this story. If your love is real, right. I am with Mr. Peter. You have 24 hours to leave this house, the billionaire CEO said as he threw the divorce papers in her face. My girlfriend deserves this place more than you. She smiled, wiped her cheek and whispered, 24 seconds are enough to destroy you, and your 1 minute starts now. The papers scattered across the marble floor like dead leaves. Paula Rose didn't flinch when they hit her. She'd stopped flinching around Bill Meek months ago, right around the time she'd noticed Gloria Allen's lipstick on his collar and decided silence was more powerful than screaming. Well? Bill stood there in his custom suit, the one Paula's inheritance had paid for, looking at her with those eyes that used to make her weak. Now, they just made her tired. Aren't you going to cry, beg, make this difficult? Paula bent down slowly, deliberately. She picked up the papers one by one, her diamond wedding ring catching the light. The ring Bill had proposed with, purchased with her family's money, though he'd never admitted it. Difficult? She straightened, papers in hand. Darling, I haven't even begun to show you difficult. From the staircase, Gloria descended like she was walking a runway. The girl wore Paula's silk robe, the ivory one with hand-embroidered roses that cost more than most people's cars. Her feet were bare, her hair was sex-mussed, and her smile was pure victory. Baby, is she still here? Gloria draped herself over Bill's arm like expensive jewelry. I thought you said she'd leave quietly. Paula studied the younger woman with the clinical interest of someone examining an insect. Pretty, certainly. Young, obviously. Smart. That remained to be seen. I'm standing in my foyer, Paula said softly. In my house, holding divorce papers my husband just threw at me. The only thing quiet here is my rage. And trust me, Gloria, quiet rage is the most dangerous kind. Bill's jaw tightened. Paula knew that look. It was his boardroom intimidation face. The one she'd coached him to perfect when he'd been too soft-spoken to negotiate contracts. Back when he'd been nobody playing guitar for coins while tourists passed without looking. Don't threaten her, Bill warned. Threaten? Paula's laugh was silk over steel. I don't make threats. I make promises. And I promise you both, this house, this life, this empire you think you've claimed, it was never yours to take. It's my house, Bill started. Read the deed. Paula gestured to the papers in her hand. Actually read them, Bill. Not just the parts your lawyer highlighted. Read who owns this house, who owns the cars in the driveway, who owns the company you're so proud of running. She watched his face change as understanding flickered. Not full understanding. Bill had never been particularly bright about legal matters, but enough to plant doubt. Gloria noticed. Bill, what is she talking about? Nothing. She's just bitter. I'm factual. Paula set the papers on the entry table, the antique mahogany table her grandmother had shipped from Italy. But you'll learn that soon enough, both of you. She walked past them, her heels clicking on marble with the rhythm of a countdown. Bill grabbed her arm, his fingers dug in hard enough to bruise. Paula looked down at his hand, then up at his face. Her expression didn't change, but something in her eyes made him release her immediately. "Don't ever touch me again," she said quietly. "You lost that privilege when you brought her into my bed." "Your bed?" Gloria laughed, high, sharp, entitled. "It's been my bed for 6 months, sweetheart. Bill's been sleeping with me while you played the dutiful wife downstairs. How does that feel?" Paula turned to face her fully. "How does it feel to sleep with a man who owns nothing, who built nothing, whose entire existence is funded by the woman you're mocking?" She smiled. "Ask me that question again in a week, Gloria, when you realize you didn't seduce a billionaire. You seduced a parasite." "That's enough," Bill's voice cracked. Paula remembered when that voice had been uncertain, apologetic, grateful for her faith in him. Now it was just noise. "No, it's not nearly enough." Paula climbed 3 stairs, then turned back. "But it will be. I promise you that. It will be more than enough." Bill tried to recover his confidence. "My lawyer says you'll be lucky to get anything. You signed a prenup." "Did I?" Paula tilted her head. "Show me." "It's in the safe." "Open it." Something in her tone made him hesitate. Gloria looked between them, her smile finally faltering. "Open the safe, Bill," Paula repeated. "Show me this prenup I signed. Show Gloria the document that protects your assets. I'll wait." Bill's face went pale. He hadn't checked the safe in years. He had no idea what was in it. But Paula knew. Paula knew everything. "That's what I thought." She continued up the stairs. "You have until sunset to remove your personal belongings. Just clothes. Everything else stays, because everything else is mine." "You can't just kick me out of my own house." Paula stopped at the landing. When she looked down at them, she felt something shift inside her, something cold and powerful and absolutely done with mercy. "Watch me." She entered the guest room, the one she'd been sleeping in since Bill had moved Gloria into their bedroom. The room was smaller, less luxurious. Paula had chosen it deliberately. Let them have the master suite with its perfect acoustics, its custom ventilation system that carried every sound throughout the house. Let them think they'd won. Her phone was already in her hand. She dialed a number she hadn't called in years, one she'd promised herself she'd never need. "Daniel Rose's office." The assistant's voice was crisp, professional. "Tell him it's Paula. Tell him his sister needs him." A pause. Then the assistant's voice changed, warm with recognition and concern. "Ms. Rose, please hold." Seconds later. "Paula?" Her brother's voice was shocked, worried, immediately protective. "Is that really you?" "Hello, Danny." She used his childhood name deliberately, reaching across years of estrangement with those 2 syllables. "I need you to pull the files, all of them." "What files?" "The trust documents, the property deeds, the company registration papers, the real shareholder agreements." Paula's voice was steady now, cold and clear. "Everything that proves Bill Meek owns nothing and never did." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "Jesus Christ, Paula, what did he do?" "He forgot who I am." She looked at her reflection in the mirror, a woman she barely recognized. Too soft, too accommodating, too willing to be invisible. "I'm going to remind him. I'll have everything by morning. Tonight, Danny, I need it tonight." "Done." A pause. "Paula, it's good to hear your voice. Mother will..." "Don't tell her yet." "I'll tell her myself." Paula closed her eyes. "I'm coming home, Danny, and I'm bringing a war with me." She hung up and sat on the edge of the bed. Her hands were shaking now, not with fear, but with something else. Something that felt like power, waking up after a long sleep. Downstairs, she could hear Gloria laughing, hear Bill's voice, defensive and loud, explaining something, probably explaining Paula away, making excuses, rewriting history to make himself the hero and her the villain. He'd always been good at that. Paula walked to the window. The garden stretched out below. Roses everywhere, just as her father had wanted. He'd planted the first one the day she'd announced her engagement to Bill. A white rose. For purity, he'd said, but also for thorns. "You never liked him, did you, Daddy?" she whispered to the ghost of her father. "You saw right through him, and I called you cruel." The memory hit her like a physical blow. Her father on his deathbed, taking her hand with fingers already cold. "He'll destroy you the moment I'm gone, Paula. Men like him always do. But you're a rose. When he tries to burn you down, remember, we don't burn. We bloom hotter." She'd thought he was being dramatic, paranoid. She'd kissed his forehead and promised him Bill was different. Her father had died thinking she'd chosen wrong. He'd been right. A knock on the door. Paula turned, expecting Bill. Instead it was Margaret, Bill's mother, the woman Paula had cared for, loved like family, welcomed into her home when Margaret had nowhere else to go. "Paula, dear?" Margaret's voice was gentle but firm. "Can we talk?" "Of course." Paula didn't move from the window. Margaret entered, closing the door behind her. She looked uncomfortable, her hands twisting together. "I know this is difficult. Do you? Bill is my son. I have to support him." "Support him humiliating me? Support him moving his mistress into my bed? Support him throwing divorce papers at me in my own foyer?" Paula's voice was still soft, but it cut like a blade. "That's the support you choose." Margaret's face flushed. "He deserves to be happy." "And I don't?" Paula turned from the window. "I gave up everything for your son, Margaret. My family disowned me. My father died estranged from me. I poured my inheritance into his dreams. I built his company from nothing while he took all the credit. I stood beside him for decades, and this is what I deserve?" "You're being dramatic. I'm being factual." Paula stepped closer. "Tell me, Margaret. When Bill had nothing, who paid his rent? When he wanted to start a company, whose money funded it? When he needed investor connections, whose family opened those doors?" Margaret looked away. "That's what I thought." Paula's voice dropped to a whisper. "I loved you like a mother. I took care of you when no one else would. And you stand with him while he destroys me? He's my blood. And I'm the woman who's been feeding that blood for decades." Paula opened the door. "Get out of my sight, Margaret, and pray I'm feeling merciful when this is over." Margaret left, tears streaming. Paula felt nothing. She was done feeling for people who never felt for her. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You'll regret making this difficult. Bill," Paula typed back. "The only thing I regret is not doing this sooner." She blocked the number. Then she made another call. This one to Catherine, her sister, a federal judge, someone she hadn't spoken to since the wedding her family had boycotted. "Paula!" Catherine's voice was guarded. "Is this really you?" "I need a favor, Kat." "Anything." No hesitation. That was family. "I need to destroy a man. Legally. Completely. Permanently." Catherine's laugh was dark and delighted. "I was wondering when you'd finally wake up. Tell me everything." Paula told her. Every detail, every betrayal, every document Bill thought he had but didn't. Every asset he claimed but never owned. When she finished, Catherine was silent for a long moment. Then, "Oh, Paula, he has no idea what's coming, does he?" "No," Paula said. "He really doesn't." "Good. Let's educate him." After the call, Paula stood in the center of the room and let herself feel everything she'd been suppressing. The humiliation, the rage, the grief for years wasted on a man who'd never deserved them. Then she boxed it all up and locked it away. Emotion was a luxury. Right now she needed to be cold, calculating, ruthless. She needed to be a rose. Downstairs, Gloria's laughter rang out again. Paula smiled. "Laugh now, little girl. Laugh while you can. Because the woman you mocked, the wife you thought was weak, The doormat you walked all over. She wasn't a doormat. She was a landmine, and you just triggered her. Paula Rose pulled out her laptop and began making lists. Phone calls to make, documents to retrieve, people to contact, strategies to deploy. Bill Meek had thrown divorce papers at her face and given her 24 hours to disappear. He'd made a critical error. He'd forgotten that Paula Rose had built an empire before. She could dismantle one just as easily, and she was about to show him exactly what happened when you tried to erase a woman who'd only been pretending to be invisible. The sun was setting when Paula heard Bill and Gloria laughing in the master bedroom, heard the bed creak, heard Gloria's exaggerated moans, performed for Paula's ears, no doubt. Paula didn't flinch. She opened her email and typed a message to her family's law firm. Freeze all accounts under William Meek's name. Effective immediately. Paula E. Rose, primary account holder. Send. Another email to the company board. Emergency meeting, tomorrow morning. Shareholder vote required. Attendance mandatory. Send. A final email to Bill's top 3 investors. All men her father had introduced to him. Need to discuss concerning financial irregularities at Meek Tech. Confidential. Urgent. Send. Then Paula Rose lay down on the guest room bed, set her alarm for dawn, and fell asleep with a smile on her face. Tomorrow, Bill Meek would wake up and realize his world was ending. But tonight, Paula Rose would rest. Because destroying a man properly required energy, and she planned to be thorough. Chapter 2. Blood runs deeper than vows. Margaret Meek raised her son to believe he deserved the world. She forgot to teach him that the world belongs to the woman who bought it for him. Paul awoke to the sound of construction in the master bedroom. Gloria was already redecorating. The walls Paula had spent months selecting paint colors for were being torn down. The custom closets Paula had designed were being ripped out. She should feel angry. Instead, she felt nothing. That was dangerous. Paula knew that. When she felt nothing, she became something else entirely. Something her father used to recognize in her eyes during chess games. Something that made him say, "There's my girl, there's my Rose." She dressed in silence, not the soft cashmere she usually wore around the house. Today she chose a suit, navy, sharply tailored, the kind her mother wore to destroy men in boardrooms. She pulled her hair back severe and clean, applied makeup with a lighter hand. When she looked in the mirror, she saw Vivian Rose staring back. Good. Downstairs, Gloria was directing workers with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. She wore one of Paula's silk robes, the cream one with the hand-embroidered roses that had cost more than most people's monthly rent. "Oh." Gloria stopped mid-gesture when she saw Paula. "You're still here?" "I live here," Paula said simply. She poured herself coffee from the pot Maria had left. Dear Maria, who'd been with her since before Bill, who looked at Gloria like something that had crawled out of the garbage disposal. For now. Gloria's smile was all teeth. "Bill says you'll be gone by tonight." "Bill says a lot of things." Paula sipped her coffee. "Most of them are lies, but you'll learn that." Gloria's eyes flashed. "You're just bitter because you couldn't keep your husband satisfied." Paula set down her cup with perfect precision. "Satisfied? Tell me, Gloria, has Bill taken you to the estate yet? The one upstate?" "We're going this weekend." "No, you're not, because I own it." "Has he shown you the investment portfolio, the stock certificates, the bonds?" Gloria's smile wavered. "Has he explained where his seed money came from, who his first investors were, whose family connections built every single relationship that made him successful?" "He built his company with my money." Paula's voice was still soft, deadly soft. "With my family's connections, with my reputation. Bill Meek was playing guitar for coins when I met him. He owned exactly one suit, and it was polyester. Everything he has, everything you think you've won, came from me." The doorbell rang. Maria appeared, her face carefully neutral. "Ms. Rose, you have visitors." "Show them in, please." Gloria looked nervous now. "Who?" Daniel Rose walked in first, tall, commanding, with that particular Rose family presence that made rooms go quiet. Behind him came Catherine Rose, federal judge, with her briefcase and her perfect posture and her eyes that missed nothing. Bill emerged from the study, already defensive. "What the hell is this?" "Hello, Bill." Daniel's voice was pleasant, too pleasant. "It's been a long time." "What's it been, 15 years since Paula cut us off to marry you?" "Danny, Catherine." Paula embraced her siblings. She felt their arms tighten around her, felt years of estrangement melt in seconds. "Thank you for coming." "You're our sister," Catherine said simply. "You call, we come, always." Gloria was staring at them with growing horror. Margaret had appeared on the stairs, looking confused and frightened. "I don't understand," Bill said, but Paula could see he was starting to. "Why are they here?" "Oh, Bill." Paula turned to him with that soft, deadly smile. "Did you really think you could divorce a Rose the way you'd divorce anyone else? Did you honestly believe my family would just let you? Your family disowned you." "My family was waiting," Daniel interrupted. "Waiting for Paula to remember who she really is. Waiting for her to come home, and now she is." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a folder. Thick, official, intimidating. He set it on the coffee table, the table Paula's grandmother had imported from Italy. "Let's talk about what Bill Meek actually owns," Daniel said. "Shall we start with this house?" Bill's face went pale. "This is my house. Paula Elizabeth Rose," Catherine read from a document. "Sole owner. Purchased with inheritance from her father's estate. Deed in her name only. The company, 60% ownership, Paula Elizabeth Rose. 20% distributed among Rose family trusts. 20% listed under Bill Meek's name." Daniel smiled. "Would you like to see the original shareholder agreements? The ones Paula signed? The ones you thought you'd changed?" "That's impossible." Bill was sweating now. "The cars." Catherine flipped a page. "Paula's name. The bank accounts? Jointly held, but seeded entirely with Rose family money. The investment portfolio that's made you so comfortable. Rose family investments that Paula was kind enough to share with you." Gloria grabbed Bill's arm. "This can't be right. Tell them this isn't right." But Bill was silent. He was remembering now. Paula could see it in his eyes. He was remembering the day she'd shown up at his studio apartment with a check. The day she'd introduced him to her father's investor friends. The day she'd signed him onto the board of her family's company as a junior partner. He'd thought he'd climbed. He'd thought he'd earned it. He'd been carried the entire way. "So, here's how this is going to work," Daniel continued. "Paula is filing for divorce. She'll be keeping the house, the company shares, the cars, the investments, and anything else with her name on it, which is everything. You, Bill, will be leaving with exactly what you brought into this marriage." "Which was nothing," Paula said softly. "You had nothing, Bill. You were nothing. I made you into something, and now I'm taking it all back." Margaret rushed down the stairs. "You can't do this. He's built that company. With my daughter's money." The voice came from the doorway, deep, powerful, unmistakably authoritative. Everyone turned. Vivian Rose stood in the entrance like a queen surveying a conquered kingdom. She was older now, her hair silver instead of dark, but her presence was the same as Paula remembered. Overwhelming. Absolute. "Mother," Paula breathed. "My daughter." Vivian walked forward, her eyes never leaving Bill. "The daughter who cut me off for this musician. The daughter who chose this man over her entire family. The daughter who disappeared for years into this marriage thinking it was love." She stopped in front of Bill. He actually took a step back. "I told Paula not to marry you," Vivian said. "I told her you were weak, that you wanted her money, not her. She called me cruel. She said I didn't understand love." Vivian's smile was ice. "But I understood you, Bill Meek. I understood exactly what you were, and I've been waiting for this day, the day my daughter would finally see what I saw." "Mrs. Rose," Bill started, "that's Vivian Rose Huntington to you, and you will not address me." She turned to Paula. "I heard about the divorce papers. I heard how he humiliated you, How he's been parading his whore around your home. Your home, Paula. The one your father bought for you as a wedding gift even though he thought you were making the biggest mistake of your life. Paula felt tears threatening but refused them. I'm sorry, Mother, you were right. You were all right. Sorry? Vivian cupped her daughter's face. My darling girl, I've been right about many things in my life, but I was wrong about one crucial fact. I thought you'd inherited your father's softness, his tendency to trust, but standing here now, seeing what you've done, keeping all the documents, maintaining control, calling your family the moment you needed us, I see you inherited something far more valuable. What's that? You inherited me. Vivian turned back to Bill. My daughter is done with you. You will leave this house today, not tomorrow. Today. You will take nothing but your personal clothes. Everything else stays. You can't just... Gloria finally found her voice. Oh, sweetheart. Vivian's laugh was cruel. I absolutely can. I'm Vivian Rose Huntington. I've destroyed men more powerful than Bill Meek before breakfast. What's one more parasite? Margaret tried again. This is still my son's home. Your son? Catherine stepped forward. Let's talk about you, Margaret Meek. You've been living in my sister's home, eating her food, enjoying her hospitality. And the moment your son betrays her, you side with him. That's called elder abuse in my courtroom. That's called exploitation. Should we discuss the legal ramifications? Margaret went white. I think, Daniel said pleasantly, we should all sit down and discuss the terms of Bill's departure, unless he'd like me to start freezing assets immediately. Bill looked around the room, at the Rose family standing united, at Gloria, who was slowly backing away as she realized she'd seduced a man who owned nothing, at his mother, who couldn't help him, at Paula, who watched him with eyes that had loved him once and now held only cold calculation. You planned this, he said. You've been planning this. No, Paula said. I've been surviving this. There's a difference. She walked to the window and looked out at the garden she'd planted. The roses, always roses, blooming in perfect rows. She remembered the day Bill had laughed and said she was obsessed with flowers because of her name. He'd never understood. Roses weren't just pretty. They had thorns. I gave you everything, she said without turning around. I gave you my family, my money, my connections, my faith. I gave you my body, my time, my devotion. I believed in you when no one else did. I fought for you when my own father begged me to leave you. Do you remember what you promised me on our wedding day? Silence. You said, Paula, you're the only thing I'll ever need. You're my music, my inspiration, my everything. I'll love you until the day I die. She turned to face him. You died a long time ago, Bill. You just forgot to stop breathing. She walked past him without another glance, past Gloria, who stood there in the stolen robe looking lost, past Margaret, who was crying now. She stopped at the base of the stairs. You have until sunset. Take your clothes. Leave your keys. If you're still here when I come back down, Daniel will have the police remove you. She climbed the stairs, her family following. Behind her, she heard Gloria whisper, Bill, what do we do? And Bill's silence was the loudest answer in the world. In the guest room, her temporary room in her own house, Paula finally let herself feel it, not the pain, not yet, but the power. I'm home, she whispered. Vivian, standing in the doorway, smiled. Yes, darling, you are. And now the real work begins. What real work? Taking everything from him. Vivian's smile was sharp as a blade. Everything. The way he took everything from you. But we'll do it slowly, methodically, the way roses have destroyed weak men for generations. Paula looked at her mother. This woman she'd rejected for years. This woman who'd been right all along. Teach me, Paula said, and Vivian Rose Huntington's smile became something beautiful and terrible. My darling girl, she said, I thought you'd never ask. Chapter 3. The Empire Crumbles. Bill Meek thought marrying Paula Rose meant he'd climbed the mountain. He didn't realize he'd been standing on her shoulders the entire time. The sunset painted the house in shades of amber and blood. Paula stood in the master bedroom, her bedroom again, Gloria's hasty redecorating already being undone by the same workers who'd torn things apart that morning. Money talked, rose, money screamed. Gloria's clothes had been packed in garbage bags, a fitting metaphor. Downstairs, she could hear Bill arguing with Daniel. The sound carried through the ventilation system she'd had custom designed. Perfect acoustics, just as she'd told Gloria. She could hear everything. "This is illegal," Bill's voice cracked. "You can't just take everything. We're not taking anything." Daniel's voice was bored. "We're keeping what already belongs to Paula. There's a difference. One is theft. The other is property rights. I built that company. You named that company. Paula built it. Let me read you something interesting." Papers rustled. "This is from the original business plan, the one filed with the state. Listen to the mission statement. To revolutionize communication technology through intuitive design and human-centered innovation." Recognize it? Silence. "That's because Paula wrote it. At 3 in the morning, while you slept, she wrote the entire business plan. I have the drafts with her handwriting. I have her notes. I have emails from her to early investors with your name CC'd, not even listed as a co-founder, Bill. She added your name later to make you feel included. That's not... She never said, 'Because she loved you, you idiot.'" Catherine's voice cut in, sharp. "She loved you so much, she let you take credit for her work. She loved you so much, she stood in the background while you gave speeches using her words. She loved you so much, she made herself smaller so you could feel big." Paula closed her eyes. It was true. All of it. She remembered typing that business plan while Bill slept off another failed audition. Remembered presenting it to her father's associates while Bill was too nervous to speak. Remembered coaching him before every meeting, writing his talking points, making him look like a visionary. She'd built him from nothing. She'd been Pygmalion and he'd been her sculpture, but sculptures don't betray their creators. Sculptures don't throw divorce papers and bring mistresses home. "Where's Gloria?" Bill asked. "Gloria?" Paula smiled. Gloria had left an hour ago, slipping out the back while Bill argued with lawyers. The girl was smarter than she looked. She'd seen the paperwork. She'd understood what Bill actually was. Nothing. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "Paula?" Vivian's voice. "May I come in?" "Of course, Mother." Vivian entered carrying 2 glasses of wine. She handed one to Paula and they stood together at the window looking down at the garden. "Your father planted the first rose bush," Vivian said. "Did you remember that? The day we told him you were marrying Bill, he came here and planted a white rose, said it was for your purity of heart, said you'd need something to remind you where you came from." "I remember." Paula's throat tightened. "He died thinking I'd abandoned the family. He died knowing you were strong enough to survive anything." Vivian sipped her wine. "Even a marriage to Bill Meek. He told me the night before he passed, 'When Paula comes home, and she will come home, make sure she remembers what she's capable of.'" "What am I capable of?" Vivian turned to her daughter, eyes fierce. "Anything, my darling. Absolutely anything. You're a rose. We don't just survive, we conquer." Downstairs, a door slammed. Through the window, Paula watched Bill load a single suitcase into a car. Not even his car, Maria's old sedan that she'd agreed to lend him. His Porsche, his Mercedes, his Range Rover, all registered in Paula's name, all staying here. He looked up at the house. For a moment, their eyes met through the window. Paula raised her wine glass in a silent toast. Bill looked away first. The next morning, Paula woke in her own bed for the first time in months. The sheets were new. She'd burned the ones Gloria had touched. The room smelled like sage and roses. Maria had performed a cleansing ritual, muttering in Spanish about bad spirits and justice. Paula had let her. Some rituals mattered. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This isn't over. You can't keep everything. My lawyer will destroy you." "Bill." Paula showed it to Daniel over breakfast. He laughed. "His lawyer? Let me guess. Marcus Fitzroy?" How did you know? Because Fitzroy is the only lawyer desperate enough to take a case this hopeless. He's also terrible. Daniel spread butter on his toast. I faced him once. He showed up drunk. This will be entertaining. I don't want entertaining, Paula said. I want it over. Patience. Catherine joined them, looking immaculate despite the early hour. Destroying a man properly takes time. You don't just remove him from your life. You remove him from existence. Every business contact, every investor, every social connection, they all need to understand what he really is. And what's that? A user, a parasite, a man who married for money and threw away his benefactor the moment he thought he could survive alone. Catherine's smile was razor sharp. By the time we're done, Bill Meek won't be able to get a meeting with a fast food franchise manager. Over the next week, Paula watched the systematic dismantling of Bill Meek's life with detached fascination. Daniel started with the business. One by one, Paula's family connections withdrew. Investors who'd funded Bill's expansions suddenly had concerns about leadership. Clients who'd trusted him for years quietly moved their contracts elsewhere. The board, carefully populated with Rowe's family allies, began asking uncomfortable questions about financials. Catherine handled the social destruction. Bills to exclusive clubs suddenly went unpaid. Paula had been the one paying them. Invitations to galas and charity events dried up. Paula had been the connection. The social circle that had fawned over Bill discovered he was boring without his wife's charm and money to recommend him. But Vivian was an artist. Paula found her mother in the study, on the phone with someone, her voice honey-sweet and poisonous. Oh, Margaret, I'm so sorry to hear Bill is struggling. Yes, it must be difficult. Of course, if he needs a place to stay, there are some lovely extended stay motels. No, I don't think Paula can help with that. Well, Margaret, when your son humiliates his wife publicly and brings his mistress into her home, there are consequences. I understand he's your son, but Paula is my daughter. Vivian noticed Paula and smiled, not breaking her conversation. Yes, Margaret, I suppose you should have thought of that before you sided with him. Of course. Take care now. She hung up. Margaret Meek is realizing she may have chosen the wrong side. Is she calling Bill's other investors too? Everyone she knows, begging for help, for money, for connections. Vivian's satisfaction was evident. They're all saying no. The Rose family has made it very clear that helping Bill Meek means becoming our enemy. No one wants that. Paula should feel guilty. She waited for the guilt to come. It didn't. Instead, she felt something else. Something that had been buried under years of making herself smaller, softer, less threatening. Something that felt like power. Mother, she said slowly, teach me everything. Vivian's eyes gleamed. Everything? How to build, how to destroy, how to make sure no one ever uses me again. My darling girl. Vivian stood and embraced her daughter. You already know. You just forgot. Now you're remembering. That evening, Paula received another text from Bill. Gloria left me. Happy? You've taken everything. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she replied, I didn't take anything. I kept what was always mine. There's a difference. His response came immediately. I loved you. Paula's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She remembered dancing in the rain. She remembered laughing in their first apartment. She remembered believing every word he said. She typed, past tense. How appropriate. She blocked the number. In the garden, under the white rose her father had planted, Paula knelt in the soil. She'd always been too busy to garden properly, too focused on supporting Bill's dreams. Now she had time. Maria found her there an hour later, hands dirty, face peaceful. Senora, Maria said softly, there's a delivery. Some of Senor Bill's things he left behind. Should I send them to him? Burn them, Paula said without looking up. Every piece. I want no trace of him left in this house. Maria's smile was fierce. With pleasure, Senora. That night, Paula stood on the balcony and watched the smoke rise from the fire pit. Bill's clothes, his books, his guitar, the one he'd played on that street corner where they'd met, the one she'd had restored professionally as an anniversary gift. It burned beautifully. Vivian joined her, silent for a moment. Then, "Your father would be proud." "Would he?" "I've become cold." "No." Vivian squeezed her hand. "You've become strong. There's a difference. Cold means you feel nothing. Strong means you feel everything and act anyway." Paula did feel everything. The grief of a marriage ended, the betrayal of trust broken, the rage of years wasted, the pain of love destroyed. But underneath all of that, something new was growing, something that felt like freedom. In the distance, her phone rang. Daniel's name on the screen. "It's done," he said when she answered. "Bill's company just voted him out. Unanimous decision. The board appointed you as interim CEO until a permanent replacement is found." Paula closed her eyes. "I don't want to run his company." "You're not. You're running your company, the one you built. He was just keeping the chair warm." She thought about that. Her company, her vision, her work. "When do I start?" "Tomorrow, if you're ready." Was she ready? To walk into that building and claim what was hers? To face the employees who'd thought Bill was a genius? To sit in the executive chair and make decisions without anyone's permission? She looked at her mother. Vivian nodded once. "I'm ready," Paula said, and for the first time in years, she believed it. Chapter 4. The Throne She Built. Gloria Allen thought she'd stolen a billionaire. She'd actually stolen a puppet, and the woman holding the strings was smiling. Paula Rose walked into MeekTech headquarters at 8 in the morning, wearing her mother's armor. A suit so perfectly tailored it was a weapon, heels that made her tower, hair pulled back to show the sharp angles of her face. She looked like what she was, money, power, and vengeance wrapped in Valentino. The receptionist gaped. "Mrs. Meek." "Ms. Rose," Paula corrected. "I've reclaimed my name. Is the executive team in the conference room?" "Yes, but—" Paula was already walking. She knew this building intimately. She'd chosen the architect. She'd selected every finish, every fixture. Bill had wanted modern glass and steel. Paula had insisted on warmth, on spaces that felt human. She'd won, as she'd won every decision that actually mattered. The conference room fell silent when she entered. 10 men, 2 women, all of them looking uncomfortable. "Good morning," Paula said. She didn't sit. She stood at the head of the table where Bill used to sit. "I'm sure you're all confused. Let me clarify. As the majority shareholder and original founder of this company, I've accepted the board's invitation to serve as CEO. Original founder?" Marcus Stone, the CFO, looked skeptical. "Bill founded this company." Paula smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Did he? Let's examine that claim." She opened her briefcase, her father's old leather case, worn and powerful, and pulled out a folder. "This is the original business registration, filed 14 years ago. Founder and CEO, Paula Elizabeth Rose. Bill Meek is listed as creative director." She slid it across the table. "This is the first round of funding. $1 million from Rose Family Investments, conditionally granted to Paula Rose's venture. Bill Meek signed as employee number 1. Another document joined the first. This is the first office lease, Paula Rose signatory. This is the first major client contract, negotiated and signed by Paula Rose." She pulled out another stack. "These are the patents, 7 original technology patents that form the backbone of our platform. Inventor, Paula Rose, co-inventor on 3 of them, Bill Meek." The room was dead silent. "So when you say Bill founded this company," Paula continued softly, "what you mean is that Bill was the face of the company I built, the voice speaking words I wrote, the figurehead of an empire he had no idea how to run." Marcus was pale. "We didn't know." "Of course you didn't. I made sure you didn't, because I loved him." Paula's voice didn't waver. "I loved him so much I let him have the credit. I loved him so much I stood in the shadows and let him be the visionary. I loved him so much I built him into something he could never have become on his own. She finally sat. The chair fit her perfectly. She'd chosen it after all. That ends today. From now on, this company will be run the way I always intended, with innovation, with integrity, with respect for every employee. Bill ran it like his personal kingdom. I'll run it like the business it was always meant to be. What about Bill? Someone asked. Is he coming back? No. Ever? Would you want to work for someone who threw divorce papers in his wife's face and moved his mistress into her home? Paula asked mildly. Silence. That's what I thought. Now let's discuss our actual business. Marcus, I need the real financial reports. Not the ones you showed Bill with inflated numbers to make him happy. The actual state of our accounts. Marcus swallowed hard. We've been operating at a loss for 18 months. I know. I've been receiving the real reports as majority shareholder. Bill never looked at them. She pulled out another file. I also know we're about to lose the Draymond contract because Bill made promises we can't deliver. I know our lead developer quit last month because Bill refused to listen to her concerns about the security flaws in our new platform. I know we're facing a lawsuit from a former employee regarding harassment that Bill ignored. Every face around the table went ashen. I know everything, Paula said simply. I've always known everything. I was just waiting. Waiting for what? The question came from Janet Torres, head of HR. Waiting for Bill to destroy himself. Paula leaned back. I could have taken over at any time, but I wanted him to show everyone exactly who he is. A man who takes credit for others' work. A man who ignores problems until they become disasters. A man who values ego over excellence. She stood. We have a lot of work to do. Janet, I want the full file on that harassment case. We're settling immediately and implementing new policies. Marcus, I want a realistic budget by Friday. I'm bringing in external auditors. If Bill's been hiding financial mismanagement, we're going to find it and fix it. And if there's fraud, Marcus asked quietly, then we report it. This company will survive on merit, not on hiding problems. Paula gathered her files. Meeting adjourned. Get to work. They filed out, stunned. Only Janet remained. Ms. Rose? Janet's voice was tentative. I want you to know, a lot of us knew, that you were the real force here. Bill was charming, but you were the substance. We just couldn't say anything. Why not? Because he was the CEO, and you seemed content to let him be. Paula nodded slowly. I was content. I believed supporting your partner was love. I was wrong. Supporting someone means helping them be better. I was enabling him to be worse. What changed? He threw away 26 years like they were garbage, like I was garbage. Paula's voice hardened. So I became garbage, the kind that stinks up his life until he can't escape the smell. Janet almost smiled. Good. Alone in Bill's office, her office now, Paula stood at the window overlooking the city. This view had cost extra. Bill had wanted it. Paula had paid for it. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number again. Bill must have gotten a new phone. The text read, You're going to destroy the company. You don't know how to run it without me. Paula replied, I ran it while you took credit. I'll run it better without you taking up space. Another buzz. Everyone will know what you did, how vindictive you are. Good. Let them know. Let them see what happens when you betray a rose. She blocked this number too. A knock. Daniel entered, grinning. How did it go? They're terrified? Perfect. Terrified employees work hard. He handed her a file. This is interesting. Bill's been living in a hotel, charged to a company credit card that's now been cancelled. He's officially broke. Where's Gloria? That's the interesting part. She's back with her ex-boyfriend, a personal trainer. They're running a scam together, targeting wealthy older men, seducing them, forging documents to access accounts. Paula stared. She was scamming Bill. Looks like it. We found forged signatures on several documents. Bill thought he was signing routine paperwork. He was actually signing over power of attorney for certain accounts. Accounts he thought were his, but were actually yours. She was trying to steal from me. And she would have, if everything wasn't locked down tighter than Fort Knox. Daniel's smile was shark-like. Your father taught you well. Every document, every account, every asset, protected by layers of legal structures Bill could never understand. Paula sat down slowly. So Bill didn't just betray me for love. He betrayed me for a con artist who was using him to get to my money. Looks that way. She started laughing. She couldn't help it. The laughter came from somewhere deep and broken, the kind of laughter that could easily turn to sobs. He threw away everything for a woman who was robbing him, she gasped. He destroyed our marriage for a thief. Karma, Daniel said, is a rose. That evening, Catherine arrived with news. Gloria's been arrested. Wire fraud, identity theft, conspiracy. She'll be in prison for years. And Bill, technically a victim of her crimes, but he's cooperating with prosecutors, which means admitting he signed documents without reading them, gave her access to accounts he didn't own, and generally proved himself to be an idiot. Catherine's smile was satisfied. His reputation is destroyed. No one will ever trust him with anything more complicated than a lemonade stand. Paula should feel triumphant. Instead, she felt tired. I spent 26 years with him, she said quietly. 26 years, and it meant nothing. How is that possible? It meant something to you, Vivian said from the doorway. That's the tragedy. You loved authentically, he loved conditionally. You gave everything, he took everything. The math was never going to work out. I feel like a fool. Fools don't build empires. Vivian sat beside her daughter. Fools don't protect their assets. Fools don't document everything. You weren't a fool. You were a woman in love who had the wisdom to protect herself anyway. Your father taught you that. Always hope for the best, but plan for the worst. I just wanted to be happy. And now you can be, on your own terms, without someone leeching your joy. Vivian squeezed her hand. Happiness isn't a person, Paula. It's a state you create for yourself. You forgot that. Now you're remembering. Paula's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another text from Bill. I know what you're doing. You're trying to destroy me, but I'll survive. I always survive. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she replied, You survived because I carried you. Let's see how you do on your own. Block, delete, done. That night, Paula couldn't sleep. She walked through her house, the house that was hers again, every room reclaimed. In the study, she found the photo album she'd been avoiding. Their wedding. She'd been radiant. He'd been handsome. They'd looked so happy. Had he ever loved her, really loved her, or had he just loved what she could give him? She turned pages. Their first apartment, Bill's first business pitch, their anniversary trip to Paris. Every photo showed the same pattern, Paula in the background supporting, Bill in the foreground shining. She'd made herself small, for him, for their marriage, for love, but love shouldn't require smallness. She closed the album and put it in a drawer. Not destroyed, not displayed, just archived. Some memories deserved to be kept, not as shrines, but as lessons. The next morning, Paula woke to news alerts on her phone. Meektech names, new CEO, original founder Paula Rose takes the helm. The article detailed her credentials, her patents, her education, MIT, where she'd graduated top of her class, her family legacy, her vision for the company. Bill Meek was mentioned once in passing. Former CEO Bill Meek stepped down amid personal scandals. That was all he got. One sentence, an afterthought. Paula read it 3 times, waiting to feel something. She felt nothing, and that, she realized, was its own kind of freedom. Chapter 5. Ashes to Empire. While Bill Meek celebrated his freedom with champagne and a mistress, Paula Rose was building an empire he'd never see coming, the same way she'd built his. The board meeting 3 weeks later should have been routine. Budget reviews, quarterly projections, mundane business. Instead, Paula stood before the board members with the kind of smile that made grown men nervous. "Before we begin," she said, "I have an announcement. We're changing the company name." Confusion rippled through the room. Meek Tech no longer represents who we are or who we've always been. Effective immediately, we're rebranding as RoseCore Technologies. Marcus looked stricken. "That's going to cost millions. New logos, new marketing, new—" "I'm aware of the costs. I'm also aware that our stock has dropped 30% since Bill's departure became public. The Meek name is now associated with scandal and incompetence. The Rose name is associated with innovation, integrity, and excellence." She pulled up a presentation. "I've already secured commitments from 5 major clients who left when Bill was here. They're returning specifically because my name is on the door." She clicked to the next slide. "I've also been contacted by 3 of our former top developers who quit under Bill's leadership. They're coming back, not for more money, though they'll get it, but because they want to work for me." "This is vindictive," someone muttered. "No," Paula said calmly. "Vindictive would be running the company into the ground out of spite. Strategic is transforming it into what it should have been from the start. RoseCore isn't about erasing Bill Meek. It's about revealing the truth. He was never the story. I was." The vote was unanimous. 2 days later, the rebrand began. The sign came down outside headquarters. Workers removed Meek Tech in bold steel letters. In its place, they mounted RoseCore, elegant and strong. Paula watched from her office window. Bill would see this. Everyone would see this. His name removed. Her name restored. It felt like reclaiming oxygen. Her phone rang. Margaret's number. She almost didn't answer. But curiosity won. "Paula?" Margaret's voice was small. "Paula, please, I need to speak with you." "I have nothing to say to you, Margaret. I know I sided with Bill. I know I hurt you, but I'm his mother. I had to—" "No, you didn't." Paula's voice was ice. "You chose to support him humiliating me. You chose to welcome his mistress into my home. You chose to make me feel like the villain for being betrayed. Those were choices. I'm sorry. Are you? Or are you sorry because Bill's broke and you need somewhere to live?" Silence. Then quietly, "Both." Paula closed her eyes. Margaret had been kind to her once. Years ago, when Paula's own mother had cut her off, Margaret had been there. But that kindness had been conditional. Paula saw that now. "I'll make you a deal," Paula said. "I'll pay for your apartment. Modest, but comfortable. I'll cover your living expenses. Not because you deserve it, because I'm not cruel like your son." "Thank you. But," Paula continued, "you'll never set foot in my house again. You'll never contact me except for emergencies. And you'll never ever speak Bill's name to me. Do you understand?" "Yes." "Good." Paula hung up. Vivian, who'd been listening from the doorway, nodded approvingly. "You're learning to set boundaries without burning bridges. That's power." "I hate that I still care about her." "Caring doesn't make you weak. Acting despite caring makes you strong." Vivian sat across from her. "Speaking of which, I have interesting news. Bill's trying to start a new company." Paula looked up sharply. "With what money?" "He's maxed out his credit cards and borrowed from friends. He's calling it Meek Tech Innovations, trying to trade on the name recognition." Vivian's smile was cold. "I've already called our trademark lawyers. He's using our intellectual property. We'll shut him down within a week." "Mother, no mercy, darling. He had chances to leave with dignity. He chose to throw you away like garbage. Now he gets to learn what garbage feels like." Vivian leaned forward. "He's also been telling people you stole his company, that you manipulated documents, that you're a vindictive ex-wife destroying an innocent man." Rage flared hot and bright. "He's lying." "Of course he is, but lies can spread." Vivian pulled out her phone. "That's why I've scheduled an interview for you. Major business network, prime time. You're going to tell your story." "I don't want to be public about this." "Too late. He made it public. Now you control the narrative. Vivian's eyes were steel. You're going to sit in front of that camera and explain exactly what happened, how you built that company, how he took credit, how he betrayed you. You're going to show them the documents, the patents, the evidence, and you're going to do it with grace and dignity while he looks like the liar he is. Paula's hand shook. What if people don't believe me? They will, because you have proof, because you have credibility, because you're a rose. Vivian stood. And because when you're done, Bill Meek will wish he'd left quietly. The interview was scheduled for the following week. Paula spent days preparing. Not rehearsing, Vivian said rehearsed answers looked fake, but organizing documents, clarifying her story, finding her center. The night before, she barely slept. She kept remembering Bill's face the day they got married. The way he'd cried during his vows. The way he'd whispered, "I can't believe you chose me." Had any of it been real? The interviewer was a woman named Sharon Winters, known for her tough questions and no-nonsense style. She didn't waste time on pleasantries. Paula Rose, formerly Paula Meek, you've been at the center of one of the biggest corporate scandals in recent memory. Let's start with the basic question. Did you steal your ex-husband's company? Paula looked directly into the camera. No, I kept my company. There's a difference. Explain. I founded Rose Core Technologies, originally called Meek Tech, 14 years ago, with my own capital and my family's investment. I filed the patents, wrote the business plan, secured the first clients, and built the technology platform. She slid documents across the desk. These are the original registration papers. My name as founder and CEO. Bill Meek is listed as employee number 1, hired by me, paid a salary by me. Sharon examined them. Bill Meek has stated publicly that he built this company from nothing. Bill Meek was playing guitar for spare change when I met him. He's a talented musician and a charismatic person, but he didn't build anything. I built him a platform, and he stood on it. That sounds bitter. It's factual. Paula's voice didn't waver. I have documentation for every claim I'm making, patents in my name, emails showing my negotiations with clients, financial records showing my family's investment. I'm not bitter. I'm done being erased. Your ex-husband claims you're a vindictive ex-wife. My ex-husband threw divorce papers in my face and moved his mistress into my home. He humiliated me publicly, took credit for my work for years, and expected me to disappear quietly with a small settlement. When I didn't, when I kept what was legally mine, he called me vindictive. Paula leaned forward. Let me be very clear. Keeping what you built is not revenge, it's justice. Sharon's eyes gleamed. This was good television. You've changed the company name, removing his name entirely. That seems personal. It is personal. I personally created this company. I personally funded it. I personally sacrificed everything to make it succeed. His name was always a courtesy. That courtesy has been revoked. Some people are saying, some people are men who are terrified their own wives will realize they've been carrying them. Paula's smile was sharp. I know what some people are saying. They're saying I'm difficult, vindictive, emotional, bitter. Let me translate. I'm a woman who refused to accept being discarded. That makes men nervous. The interview went viral within hours. Paula Rose trended globally. Women everywhere were sharing their own stories of being erased, of supporting men who took credit, of building things only to watch someone else claim them. Bill's phone must have exploded with calls. Paula didn't care. She'd blocked his number again. What she did care about were the messages flooding in from other women, stories of erasure, stories of betrayal, stories of finally taking back what was theirs. You inspired me to leave, one message read. I've been supporting my husband's business for 10 years while he tells people he's self-made. I just filed for divorce and claimed my share. Thank you. Another. I'm a lawyer. I'd like to help you pro bono if you need it. What you're doing matters. Dozens more, hundreds, thousands. Paula sat in her office reading them, something warm unfolding in her chest. She wasn't just taking back her company, she was showing other women it was possible. Daniel burst in, waving his phone. Have you seen this? Bill's former business partner just published an op-ed. Says Bill always took credit for other people's work. Says everyone in their early days knew you were the brains and he was just the face. Catherine arrived moments later. 3 of his investors just called me. They want to invest in Rosecore. They said they'd invested in Bill because of you and never understood why you weren't the CEO. Vivian came last, carrying champagne. Darling, you've done it. Bill Meek's reputation is destroyed. No one will work with him. No one will fund him. No one will even return his calls. They should celebrate. This was victory. But Paula felt something else, something that felt like grief. I loved him, she said quietly. I really, truly loved him. How did it come to this? Vivian set down the champagne and wrapped her arms around her daughter. Because he was small and you were vast. Because he needed to diminish you to feel big. Because some men can't love women who outshine them. But he said what he needed to say to keep you trapped, and you believed him because you have a generous heart. Vivian pulled back, cupping Paula's face. But generous doesn't mean foolish. You protected yourself even while loving him. That's wisdom. Paula closed her eyes. The girl who'd fallen in love with a street musician felt so far away now. That girl had believed in fairy tales. This woman knew the truth. Sometimes the dragon wins, but only if you let it. And Paula Rose had stopped letting anyone win at her expense. What happens now? She asked. Now? Vivian smiled. Now you build something even greater, not for revenge, for yourself. You've taken back your company, now take back your life. Paula looked around her office, at the city skyline beyond her windows, at the empire she'd built and reclaimed. For the first time in years, the future didn't include Bill Meek in any capacity. It felt like stepping into sunlight after years in a cave. All right, she said, let's build something new. And outside her window, the Rosecore sign gleamed like a promise. Chapter 6. The past speaks louder than lies. When the past speaks, liars learn that some voices carry farther than their excuses ever could. Bill Meek's fall from grace should have been complete, should have been quiet. Instead, he made it spectacular. Paula was in a meeting when her assistant interrupted, face pale. Ms. Rose, you need to see this. The video was already going viral. Bill, disheveled and desperate, standing outside Rosecore headquarters with a handmade sign, Paula Rose stole my life. He was shouting at employees entering the building, shouting about injustice, about vindictive ex-wives, about women who destroyed men for sport. He's been there for 3 hours, her assistant said. Security asked if you want him arrested. Paula watched the video. Bill looked destroyed, unshaven, clothes wrinkled, eyes wild. He looked like a man who'd lost everything, because he had. No, she said quietly. Don't arrest him. He's embarrassing himself far more effectively than I ever could. But watching him implode hurt. Not because she still loved him, because she remembered loving him. She remembered believing he was better than this. Daniel appeared at her door. You've seen it? Everyone's seen it. Good. Daniel's smile was grim. Let him rage. Let everyone see what happens when men like him lose control. Danny, no. Her brother's voice was sharp. Don't you dare feel sorry for him. This man threw you away. This man humiliated you. This man tried to steal credit for your entire life's work. He doesn't get your sympathy. I'm not sympathizing. I'm grieving. Grieve then, but don't rescue him. Paula nodded. Daniel was right. She knew he was right, but watching Bill destroy himself still felt like watching someone drown while she stood safe on shore. The protest lasted 2 days before Bill gave up. By then, the videos had been shared millions of times. His reputation, already damaged, became radioactive. Then the articles started appearing. First, a piece in a major business magazine. The man who took credit. Bill Meek's pattern of appropriation. It interviewed former employees, former partners, former friends. They all told the same story. Bill was charming but empty, talented at performance, useless at substance. Everything he'd claimed to create had been created by someone else, usually by women he'd convinced to support him. Paula wasn't his first victim. She was just his most successful. Next came an investigative podcast. The Paula Rose Story, How One Woman Built an Empire Twice. The host interviewed Paula's MIT professors, her early investors, her first employees. They all confirmed what she'd been saying. Paula was the visionary. Bill was the mascot. One former professor said something that made Paula cry. Paula Rose was the most talented student I ever taught. She could have revolutionized any field. Instead, she spent years making a mediocre man look brilliant. I've always wondered what she could have accomplished without that weight. Now, the world would find out. Rosecore's stock soared. With Paula's name on the door and her vision driving strategy, investors flooded in. The company that had been floundering under Bill's leadership became the darling of the tech industry under hers. Paula hired back every talented woman who'd quit under Bill's watch. She promoted women to leadership positions. She implemented policies Bill had blocked, paid parental leave, flexible work arrangements, mentorship programs. Within months, Rosecore was named one of the best places to work in the country. Bill sent her an email. She'd stopped blocking him. What was the point? He couldn't hurt her anymore. The email read, "You've won. Happy now? You've destroyed me. You've taken everything. I hope you enjoy your empire built on my corpse." She replied, "I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped carrying you." His response, "I loved you." Those 3 words sat on her screen like an accusation. Paula stared at them. Her hands shook. She typed and deleted a dozen responses before settling on the truth. "I know you think you did. But love doesn't throw away what it values. Love doesn't humiliate what it cherishes. You loved what I could give you, not who I was." She hit send and immediately closed her laptop. That night, alone in her house, Paula finally let herself fall apart. She cried for the girl who'd believed in fairy tales, for the woman who'd sacrificed everything for a man's dream, for the years she'd never get back. She cried for the marriage that had been real to her but transactional to him. She cried because even though she'd won, she'd lost something too. Her ability to trust that kind of love again. Vivian found her on the floor of her bedroom, surrounded by tissues, mascara running. "Oh, darling." Her mother sat beside her and pulled her close. "You're grieving." "I thought I was over it," Paula choked out. "I thought I'd moved on." Moving on doesn't mean not feeling. It means feeling and surviving anyway. Vivian stroked her daughter's hair. "You're allowed to grieve what you thought you had. You're allowed to mourn the man you thought he was." Was any of it real? Yes. Your love was real. Your devotion was real. Your sacrifice was real. He's the one who was fake. Paula cried harder. "Why wasn't I enough?" "Oh, my beautiful girl." Vivian's voice broke. "You were too much. You were brilliant and strong and powerful. He couldn't stand in your light without being blinded, so he tried to dim you. But you can't dim the sun. You can only prove you're afraid of brightness." They sat there until Paula had no tears left. Then Vivian said something that changed everything. "You know what your father told me the day you were born?" "What?" "He said, this girl is going to change the world. I just hope the world is ready for her." Vivian smiled through her own tears. He was right. You are changing the world. Not by being someone's wife, by being yourself. Paula thought about that. Being herself. She'd forgotten what that meant. She'd spent so long being what Bill needed, what the marriage required, what supporting a partner looked like. Who was Paula Rose without any of that? She was about to find out. The next morning, Paula woke with a strange clarity. She'd grieved. Now it was time to build. She called a company-wide meeting. Every employee, every department. They gathered in the main auditorium, confused and curious. Paula stood before them without notes. "When I took over as CEO, many of you were skeptical. You knew me as Bill Meek's wife, not as the founder of this company. I want to change that." She pulled up a slide. Her MIT diploma, her early patents, her original business plan. "This is who I was before I became Bill's wife. This is who I've always been. I let myself be erased because I thought supporting him was love. I was wrong." Another slide. Photos of the company's early days. Paula in every picture, working late, coding, negotiating, building. This company exists because I built it, not because I helped build it, because I built it. Bill was an employee who became a figurehead, but the heart of RoseCore has always been my vision. She looked around the room. Going forward, this company will reflect that vision. We will innovate, we will lead, we will treat every employee with respect, and we will never, ever let anyone take credit for work they didn't do. The room erupted in applause. After the meeting, a young developer approached Paula. "Ms. Rose, I just wanted to say thank you. I've been working here for 3 years. Bill never knew my name. You learned it my first day under your leadership." Paula squeezed the woman's hand. "What's your name?" "Keisha." "Keisha, thank you for staying. Thank you for believing this company could be better." "It already is." Paula walked back to her office feeling lighter. She had an empire to run, a vision to execute, a life to reclaim. Bill Meek was a chapter, a painful one, but just a chapter. The book was far from over. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. Bill Meek didn't notice when his empire started crumbling because he was too busy building sandcastles with a woman who was already looking for the next beach. 6 months after Paula's television interview, Bill hit rock bottom in spectacular fashion. He'd been living in a series of increasingly decrepit apartments, burning through what little goodwill remained from old contacts. Every business venture failed. Every job interview ended with polite rejections once they Googled his name. Paula knew because Daniel kept her informed, whether she wanted it or not. "He's applied to work at a coffee shop," Daniel reported over dinner at Vivian's estate. "They rejected him. Too much baggage." "Stop," Paula said. "I don't want to know anymore." "You need to know," Vivian countered. "Not because you should care about him, but because you need to see the full consequences of his choices. He did this to himself." Paula pushed her food around her plate. She'd won everything. So why did victory taste like ash? "I saw Margaret yesterday," Catherine said carefully. "She looks terrible. She's aging badly. All that stress." "She chose her side," Paula said flatly. "She did. I'm not saying you owe her anything. I'm saying karma is having its way with the Meek family." That night, Paula received an unexpected visitor. The doorbell rang at nearly midnight. Maria checked the security camera and gasped. "Senora, it's him." Paula's first instinct was to call security. Her second was to ignore it. Her third was curiosity. She opened the door. Bill stood there looking like a ghost of himself. He'd lost weight. His clothes hung on him. His eyes were hollow. "Paula," he said, "please, I need to talk to you." "No, please, 5 minutes. That's all I ask." She should close the door. She knew she should. Instead, she said, "You have 3. They stood on opposite sides of the threshold. Paula wouldn't invite him in. This wasn't his home anymore. "I'm sorry," Bill started. "Your time is ticking." "I'm sorry," he said again, faster now. "I'm sorry for everything, for Gloria, for humiliating you, for taking credit for your work, for all of it. I was wrong, I was cruel, I was a coward," Paula finished. "You were a coward who needed to feel big by making me small." "Yes. And now you're here because you've lost everything and you want me to save you." Bill's face crumpled. "I don't want you to save me. I just want you to know I'm sorry. I need you to know that I loved you. I really did." Past tense again. "I still..." "No." Paula's voice was sharp. "You don't get to love me anymore. You threw that away. You destroyed it. You don't get to pick up the pieces and pretend they still fit together. I know, I see what you've done with RoseCore. It's incredible. It's everything I could never have made it. You were always the talented one. I was just the face, the voice, the mask." Paula crossed her arms. "I know. Everyone knows now. I deserve this. I deserve all of it." Bill's voice broke. "I just wanted you to know you were right about everything. About me, about us, about Gloria. You were right. and I was too proud and too stupid and too insecure to admit it. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, it's supposed to make me feel less guilty. Paula laughed bitterly. At least you're honest now. Your time is up, Maria said from behind Paula, her voice steel. Bill looked past Paula at the house, his eyes filled with tears. I miss this. Not the house. This, us, coming home to you, hearing you laugh, watching you work. I miss being loved by you. Then you shouldn't have thrown it away. Paula stepped back. Goodbye, Bill. Wait. She closed the door. Through the window, she watched him stand there for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away, shoulders shaking. Paula waited to feel triumph, satisfaction, something. She felt nothing. You did the right thing, Maria said quietly. I know. He's a broken man. He broke himself. Paula turned away from the window. I'm going to bed. But she didn't sleep. She lay in the dark, thinking about the man Bill had been when they met. The musician with dreams too big for his wallet. The romantic who'd serenaded her on street corners. The man who'd cried during their wedding vows. Had that man been real, or had she invented him? The next morning brought more news. Bill had been arrested, drunk and disorderly, causing a scene outside a restaurant where Paula was having a business dinner. He didn't know you were there, Daniel assured her. Pure coincidence, but the restraining order is being processed. I don't want a restraining order. Paula! He's not dangerous. He's pathetic. There's a difference. She rubbed her temples. Just make sure he gets help. Rehab or therapy or whatever he needs. Send the bills to me. You're too good to him. I'm not good to him. I'm good to myself. I don't want his destruction on my conscience. She looked at her brother. I want him gone from my life, but I don't want him dead or institutionalized. Make sure he gets basic help. Then I never want to hear his name again. Daniel nodded slowly. You're a better person than I am. No, I'm just tired of this story. I want a new one. Over the following weeks, Paula threw herself into work. Rosecore launched 3 new products, expanded into international markets, acquired 2 smaller companies. Paula Rose became a name synonymous with innovation and integrity. She gave speeches at conferences, mentored young women in tech, sat on boards, built the empire she'd always been capable of building. Bill Meek faded into obscurity. Gossip sites stopped covering him. His name disappeared from headlines. He became what he'd always been without Paula, nothing. One evening, Paula received a letter, not from Bill, from his mother. Margaret's handwriting was shaky. Paula, I know you don't want to hear from me. I don't blame you. But I need you to know something. I was wrong. About everything. You were the best thing that ever happened to my son, and I let him throw you away. I encouraged it because I was jealous. Jealous that he loved you more than he'd ever loved me. Jealous that you were everything I wasn't. I destroyed the best relationship he ever had because I'm a bitter old woman. I'm sorry. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know. You deserve better than both of us. Paula read it 3 times. Then she filed it away with all the other ghosts of her past. Some apologies came too late to matter. That weekend, Vivian threw a party, not for business, for Paula. What's the occasion? Paula asked. You're alive, Vivian said simply. You survived something that would have destroyed lesser women. That's worth celebrating. The party was small, but perfect. Catherine and Daniel with their families, a few close friends, Maria and the household staff who'd stood by Paula through everything. No Bill, no Margaret, no ghosts, just people who loved Paula for Paula. Vivian raised a glass. To my daughter, who built an empire twice, who survived betrayal and came out stronger, who proved that roses have thorns and fools bleed when they try to pick them carelessly. Everyone laughed and drank. Paula felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace, not happiness yet. Not joy, but peace. The kind that comes from knowing you've survived the worst and emerged intact. Later, alone on the terrace, Paula looked up at the stars. I made it, Daddy, she whispered to the night. You told me I was strong enough for anything. You were right." The wind rustled through the rose garden. Her father had planted the first one. Now dozens bloomed there, white and red and pink and yellow. A garden of survival. Paula Rose had been pruned down to nothing, but roses grew back stronger when properly cut. And she was blooming in ways Bill Meek would never understand. Chapter 8. The Woman Who Forgets. They say the opposite of love is hate. Paula Rose proved it's something far worse. It's forgetting someone ever mattered at all. 1 year after her divorce, Paula stopped thinking about Bill Meek entirely, not because she tried. She simply had better things to occupy her mind. RoseCore had become the 5th most valuable tech company in the country. Paula graced magazine covers, not as someone's ex-wife, but as a self-made billionaire innovator. She bought a second home in the mountains, started painting again, something she'd abandoned years ago to support Bill's dreams, traveled to 6 countries on business, and stayed for pleasure. She was living, really living, for the first time in decades. "You seem lighter," Catherine observed during Sunday brunch at Vivian's estate. "I am lighter," Paula said. "I dropped 180 pounds of dead weight." They laughed. It was a running joke now. The weight she'd lost wasn't physical. It was Bill. Daniel joined them, looking amused. "You're trending again." "What now?" "Forbes just named you Businesswoman of the Year. The article is glowing. It mentions your ex-husband exactly once in passing." Paula didn't even ask what it said. She'd stopped caring about Bill's mentions months ago. "Good," was all she said. What she didn't know, what her family chose not to tell her, was that Bill had tried to attend the Forbes Gala where she'd accept her award. Security had turned him away at the door. He'd stood outside in the rain, watching through windows as Paula gave her acceptance speech, watching her shine without him, watching her be everything he'd tried to dim. Paula's speech made news for its honesty. "I spent 2.5 decades making someone else's dreams come true. Now I'm making my own. To every woman watching who's lost herself in someone else's ambition, it's not too late. Reclaim yourself. Rebuild yourself. You are not too old, too damaged, or too late. You are exactly on time." Standing ovation, viral clips, millions of shares. Bill watched it on a library computer. He had no television in his studio apartment, barely had furniture. He worked 3 part-time jobs now, nothing in tech, no one would hire him, and lived on ramen and regret. He typed out a message to Paula. "You were magnificent tonight. I'm proud of you." He stared at it for 10 minutes, then deleted it. She wouldn't care. He knew she wouldn't care. The woman who'd once loved him with her whole heart had moved on so completely he doubted she remembered his name. Paula, meanwhile, was at an after-party, laughing with other tech CEOs, discussing innovations and investments. A venture capitalist asked her to dinner. She said yes, not because she was ready to date, but because she was ready to be courted by someone who saw her as an equal. The dinner went well. 3 more followed. By month 3, Paula was in a relationship with Marcus Sterling, yes, the investor who'd been one of Bill's biggest backers before switching his allegiance to Paula. Marcus was nothing like Bill. He was established, secure, brilliant in his own right. He didn't need Paula to make him somebody. He already was somebody. He treated her like a partner, not a resource. Their relationship was mature, respectful, passionate without being consuming. Paula didn't lose herself in Marcus. She found different parts of herself with him. 6 months in, Marcus proposed. Paula said no. "I'm not ready to be anyone's wife again," she explained gently. "Maybe I never will be. I like what we have, but I can't wear that title again." Marcus, to his credit, understood. "Then we don't marry. We partner. We love. We build something that works for us, not for tradition." Paula kissed him. "That sounds perfect." They bought a place together in the city, separate apartments in the same building. Independence and intimacy balanced perfectly. Paula had learned the lesson. Love shouldn't require erasure. Meanwhile, Bill's life continued its downward spiral. He'd been evicted from his apartment, stayed in a shelter for a while, Eventually found a room in a halfway house. He attended AA meetings now, therapy twice a week. Slowly, painfully, he was trying to rebuild something resembling a life. His therapist asked him about Paula often. "Do you still love her?" "I don't know what love means anymore," Bill admitted. "I thought I loved her. I thought destroying her would free me. Instead, it destroyed me." "Have you tried to contact her?" "Once. She closed the door in my face, literally and metaphorically." He laughed bitterly. "I don't blame her. I'd close the door on me too." "Do you want closure?" "I think closure is a myth. Some doors don't close. They just stop mattering." That was it, really. Bill didn't matter to Paula anymore. Not as love, not as hate, not as anything. He'd become irrelevant. 2 years post-divorce, Paula received an invitation to speak at her alma mater, MIT. She stood before an auditorium full of students and told them her story, not the sanitized version, the real one. "I was married for 26 years to someone who took credit for my work. I let him because I thought that's what love looked like: sacrifice, support, putting someone else first. I was wrong." She clicked to a slide. Her early patents, her business plans, her achievements, all with her name only. "This is what I did alone. This is what I'm capable of. And I didn't know it because I'd spent so long being half of something that I forgot how to be whole." Another slide. Rose Corps' latest valuation, her awards, her innovations. "This is what happens when you stop making yourself small, when you stop letting someone else's insecurity dictate your size, when you remember that your voice matters." A student raised her hand. "Do you regret your marriage?" Paula paused, really thought about it. "No," she said finally. "I regret staying too long. I regret not leaving when I first felt diminished. But I don't regret the marriage itself. It taught me who I never want to be again." "Do you hate your ex-husband?" "I don't think about him enough to hate him." The room went silent. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone. Because that was the ultimate victory. Not destruction, not revenge, indifference. After her speech, a young woman approached Paula crying. "I'm in a relationship like that. He takes credit for everything. He makes me feel crazy, but I love him." Paula took the woman's hands. "Love shouldn't make you smaller. Real love celebrates your growth. If he can't handle your light, he doesn't deserve your darkness either." "What if I can't leave?" "You can. I promise you can. It feels impossible until you do it. Then it feels like breathing again." Paula squeezed her hands. "You are not too weak. You are not too damaged. You are not too invested. You are exactly strong enough to walk away." The woman sobbed. "Thank you." Paula hugged her. "Go be magnificent. Don't wait for permission." Driving home, Paula thought about that conversation, about the woman she'd been, the woman she'd become. Bill Meek had tried to destroy her. Instead, he'd freed her. She should probably thank him. She wouldn't, though. That would require remembering he existed. And Paula Rose had more important things to remember, like her worth, her strength, her capacity for brilliance, like the empire she'd built twice, like the woman in the mirror who'd survived hell and came out forged in fire. Bill Meek was ash. Paula Rose was the phoenix. And phoenixes don't look back at ashes. They fly forward into flame. Chapter 9. Monuments to Forgetting. Bill Meek learned too late that the woman who builds you doesn't need you to stand. She was always the foundation. 5 years post-divorce, Paula Rose's name was synonymous with innovation, integrity, and excellence. Rose Core Technologies dominated the tech sector. Paula had expanded into artificial intelligence, clean energy, and biotechnology. Her companies employed thousands. Her innovations changed industries. She was profiled in documentaries. Her leadership style was studied in business schools. Young women cited her as their role model. Paula Rose had become what she'd always been capable of becoming, legendary. Bill Meek, meanwhile, had finally stabilized, not thrived, just survived. He managed a small bookstore now, lived in a modest apartment, attended his meetings and therapy sessions. He'd accepted his place in the world, footnote in someone else's story. He saw Paula sometimes, not in person. She operated in circles so far above him they might as well be different planets. But he saw her on magazine covers, in news articles, in success stories. Each time, it hurt less. Not because he'd stopped caring, because he'd finally accepted that she was better off without him. The woman on those covers, powerful, confident, brilliant, had always existed. He'd just spent years trying to diminish her. His therapist called it growth. Bill called it grief. Paula rarely thought of him. When she did, it was with the vague recognition of someone who'd once been important, but whose face had faded from memory. "Do you ever miss being married?" Marcus asked her one morning over coffee in their adjoining apartments. "I miss the idea of marriage," Paula said thoughtfully. "Partnership, companionship. But what I had wasn't marriage. It was servitude disguised as love. And now? Now I have partnership without paperwork, love without ownership. That's better." Marcus smiled. "I agree." They'd been together for years now, still maintained separate spaces, still built independent lives that intersected beautifully without consuming each other. It worked because they were both whole people who chose connection, not broken people seeking completion. Paula's mother was aging gracefully. Vivian had stepped back from most business operations, content to watch her daughter surpass every legacy the Rose family had built. "You've done what I never could," Vivian told Paula at a family dinner. "You built something from nothing, lost everything, and built it again even bigger. You're the ultimate Rose." "I'm just me, Mother." "Exactly. That's always been enough." Catherine had been appointed to a higher court. Daniel was running for office. The Rose family was thriving in every direction, and at the center of it all was Paula, the one they'd disowned, who'd come back stronger than any of them. She established a foundation, the Paula Rose Initiative for Women in Technology. It funded scholarships, mentorship programs, legal aid for women fighting workplace discrimination. Every year, she hosted a gala. Every year, hundreds of women shared stories of reclaiming their work, their credit, their lives. Bill watched coverage of one gala online. Paula, stunning in emerald silk, surrounded by women she'd empowered. She was asked about her ex-husband. The journalist clearly wanted drama. Paula's response was perfect. "I'm sorry, who?" The audience laughed. The journalist pushed, "Your ex-husband, Bill Meek." Paula's face showed genuine confusion. Then, "Oh, yes, I don't really think about that anymore. Ancient history." Bill closed his laptop. Message received. He wasn't her villain origin story. He wasn't her revenge plot. He wasn't her anything. He was nothing to her. And somehow that felt like the punishment he deserved. Margaret Meek died quietly in her sleep at 78. She'd lived alone in the modest apartment Paula had paid for, never reconciling with either her son or her former daughter-in-law. Bill called Paula's office to tell her. Her assistant was polite but clear. "Ms. Rose is in Tokyo. I'll pass along the message." Paula sent flowers, expensive, beautiful flowers, and a card that read, "She was kind to me once. That's worth remembering." She didn't attend the funeral. Neither did anyone else from the Rose family. Bill stood alone in the cemetery, watching his mother's casket lower into earth. He'd lost everything that mattered: his wife, his mother, his reputation, his career. All he had left was a small bookstore and the knowledge that he'd destroyed his own life through arrogance and cruelty. It wasn't enough, but it was what he deserved. Paula, in Tokyo, closed a deal that would revolutionize sustainable energy. She didn't think once about the funeral happening back home. She was too busy changing the world. 7 years post-divorce, Paula received an unexpected letter. It was from Gloria Allen, writing from prison. She had 3 more years on her sentence. "Ms. Rose, I know you have no reason to read this. I know I'm the last person who deserves your attention, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I was a con artist. I targeted Bill because he was weak and wealthy, or so I thought. I didn't know he was just a shell you'd built around nothing. I didn't know everything he had was yours. By the time I realized I was in too deep, I helped him hurt you. I wore your clothes, slept in your bed, mocked your life. I thought I was clever. I was just cruel. You didn't deserve any of it. Bill didn't deserve you. Neither did I. I hope you're happy. I hope you've built something beautiful from the ashes we left you. I hope you've forgotten we exist. That would be the kindest ending. Paula read it twice, then filed it away with Margaret's letter and all the other apologies that came too late. Some people earned forgiveness, some just earned forgetting. Gloria and Bill had earned the latter. Paula's life was full now, board meetings and product launches, charity galas and international conferences, time with Marcus, time with family, time alone, painting in her studio or walking in her garden. The roses her father had planted had multiplied into hundreds. The garden was a maze of blooms now, every color, every variety, all thriving. Paula walked among them every morning. It was her meditation, her reminder. She'd been cut down, she'd bloomed back, and she would keep blooming. One morning, a young reporter approached her at a conference, eager, nervous, clearly new. "Ms. Rose, can I ask about your ex-husband?" Paula smiled kindly. "I'm sorry, I don't do interviews about personal matters. But your comeback story isn't about him." Paula's voice was gentle but firm. "My story is about me, about resilience, about women reclaiming their narratives. He's irrelevant to that story. But he was an obstacle I overcame, that's all." Paula checked her watch. "If you want to interview me about my work, my innovations, my foundation, I'm happy to talk. If you want gossip about a man I divorced years ago, you're wasting both our time." The reporter backed off, chastened. Paula walked away, not angry, just done. She was so done talking about Bill Meek, done thinking about him, done letting him take up space in her story. That evening, Marcus asked, "How was the conference?" "Good. Someone asked about Bill." "What did you say?" Paula thought about it. "I honestly can't remember. Something dismissive. He's just not important anymore." Marcus kissed her forehead. "Good. He never was." Paula smiled. "I know that now." And she did. She finally, completely knew it. Bill Meek had been a chapter, a painful, difficult chapter, but just a chapter. The book was Paula's, and she was writing the rest in her own words, with her own hand, on her own terms. No editors, no co-authors, no ghostwriters claiming credit. Just Paula Rose, telling her truth, and the world was finally listening. Chapter 10. The Woman Who Never Left. Bill Meek asked Paula Rose to leave in 24 hours. 10 years later, he finally understood. She never left. She simply stopped staying for him and started staying for herself. A decade after their divorce, Paula Rose received an invitation she'd never expected. Bill Meek's gallery opening. He'd returned to art, to music, to the things he'd abandoned when he thought business made him more impressive. The invitation included a personal note in handwriting she didn't recognize as his, shakier, humbler. "I don't expect you to come. I don't deserve your presence. But you should know, I'm finally doing what I should have done from the beginning. Creating, not taking credit for others' creations. If you do come, it's not to see me. It's to see that some people actually learn from their mistakes. Bill." Paula held the invitation for a long time, then showed it to Marcus. "Are you going?" he asked. "I don't know. Should I? Do you want to?" Paula thought about it. The answer surprised her. "Maybe. Not for him. For closure I didn't know I needed." "Then go. I'll come with you if you want." "No. If I do this, I do it alone." The gallery was in a modest space downtown. Nothing like the luxury Bill had once demanded. The opening was small, maybe 30 people, mostly strangers. Paula arrived late intentionally. She wore simple black, no statement, no armor, just herself. The art was good, really good. Bill had talent, she'd always known that. These paintings captured something raw and honest. Pain, regret, growth. One piece stopped her cold, a woman's silhouette, made entirely of thorns, blooming with roses. The title card read, "The foundation I mistook for a stepping stone." Paula stared at it. This was how he saw her now. Too late, but he saw her. "You came." Bill's voice from behind her, quieter than she remembered, humbler. Paula turned. He'd aged, grey hair, lines around his eyes, a softness that came from surrender rather than comfort. "I came," she agreed. "Your art is good, Bill." "Thank you." He didn't move closer. Respected her space. "I didn't think you would." "Neither did I." They stood there, two people who'd shared decades and now shared nothing but history. "I'm not going to apologize again," Bill said quietly. "You've heard it enough. It doesn't mean anything anymore." "No, it doesn't. I just want you to know. I see it now. What you were, what I did, what I destroyed." He gestured at the painting. "You were never my foundation. You were the whole architecture. I was just living in the house you built." Paula nodded slowly. "Yes. I wasted your time. You wasted my love. Time I would have spent anyway. Love I gave freely. That's what you wasted." Bill's eyes filled with tears he didn't try to hide. "I know." "Good." Paula turned back to the painting. "This is beautiful, by the way. Painful, but beautiful." "Everything beautiful is painful when you look close enough." They stood in silence. Then Paula said something she'd never planned to say. "I forgive you." Bill's breath caught. "You don't have to. I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for me." Paula finally looked at him directly. "I forgive you because holding on to anger was taking up space I need for better things. I forgive you because you're human and humans are flawed. I forgive you because I've built a life so beautiful that your betrayal is just a distant memory." "Thank you," Bill whispered. "But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It doesn't mean friendship. It doesn't mean I'll forget what you did." Paula's voice was gentle but absolute. "It just means I'm releasing you from my story. You're not my villain anymore. You're not my lesson. You're just someone I used to know." Bill nodded, tears streaming now. "That's more than I deserve." "Yes," Paula agreed. "It is." She turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, Bill, I hope you find peace. Real peace. The kind that comes from being enough on your own." "Did you find it?" Paula smiled. "Years ago." She walked out of the gallery and didn't look back. Marcus was waiting outside in the car. "How was it?" "Closure," Paula said. "Real closure. Not the dramatic kind. The quiet kind where you realize someone doesn't matter anymore." "Good. Very good." They drove home in comfortable silence. Paula looked out the window at the city she'd conquered, the life she'd built, the empire that bore her name. She thought about the girl who'd fallen in love with a street musician. That girl had believed in fairy tales. She'd believed love meant sacrifice and support meant silence. This woman knew better. Love meant partnership. Support meant encouragement, not erasure. And sacrifice without reciprocity wasn't love. It was martyrdom. At home, Paula stood in her garden among the roses that had multiplied beyond counting. Red and white and pink and yellow, all blooming in chaotic beauty. Her phone buzzed, a text from her goddaughter Zara, now a successful lawyer about to make partner. "Aunt Paula, I just closed the biggest case of my career. I thought of you. You taught me never to make myself smaller for anyone. Thank you." Paula smiled. This was the legacy that mattered. Not the company, not the money. The women she'd empowered, the lives she'd changed, the example she'd set. She'd been broken, she'd been rebuilt, she'd been better. And in the process, she'd shown countless others they could do the same. Bill Meek had asked her to leave in 24 hours. She'd left his world and built her own. A world where she was CEO and founder and innovator and philanthropist and partner and friend and mentor and role model. A world where Bill Meek was a footnote, barely mentioned. A world where Paula Rose was the headline, the story, the triumph. Inside, Marcus was cooking dinner. Vivian was visiting, telling stories. Catherine and Daniel were arriving soon with their families. Paula's life was full of people who loved her for herself, not for what she could give them, not for how she made them look, but for who she was. That was the real victory. Not Bill's destruction, her reconstruction, not his downfall, her rise. She looked at the white rose her father had planted. It had grown massive, sprawling, taking up half the garden with its blooms. "I made it, Daddy," she whispered. "I built it twice, and the second time I built it for me." The rose swayed in the evening breeze, as if nodding approval. Paula turned back to the house, to the laughter and light spilling from the windows, to the life she'd earned. Bill Meek had given her 24 hours to disappear. She'd taken those hours and turned them into a decade of dominance. She'd taken his betrayal and transformed it into fuel. She'd taken the ashes of her marriage and grown an empire from the soil. And in the end, that was the greatest revenge of all, not destroying him, but becoming so powerful, so successful, so thoroughly herself, that he became irrelevant. Bill Meek had tried to erase Paula Rose. Instead, he'd freed her. And Paula Rose, freed, was unstoppable. She walked inside to her family, her love, her life. And Bill Meek, in his small gallery, with his small crowd and his small redemption, finally understood what he'd lost. Not a wife, not a partner, not a supporter. He'd lost a force of nature, a woman who could have carried him forever. But forces of nature don't carry dead weight. They drop it and keep moving. And Paula Rose was still moving forward, powerful and brilliant and free, while Bill Meek stood still, finally understanding that the woman who never left was never really his to begin with. She'd always belonged to herself. She'd just forgotten for a while. Now she remembered, and the world would never let her forget again. The end.